Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the recent news article that is related to the China, where it has decided to rename 11 places that is situated in the Arunachal Pradesh of India. So why China has renamed 11 places in Arunachal Pradesh? What is the rationale or logic behind this particular step? And how India has reacted against this particular decision of China? We are going to discuss in this video everything in more detail. So first of all, to give you the background of this particular news, in the latest attempt to lay claim to the areas inside the Indian territory, the Chinese government on Sunday announced that it would standardize the names of 11 places in the Arunachal Pradesh. Basically, China claims the entire Arunachal Pradesh to be part of its own territory, and in this regard, it is the Ministry of Civil Affairs, that is the Chinese ministry, has put out names of 11 places in Arunachal Pradesh in the three languages, Chinese, Tibetan, and the Pinyin characters, acting in accordance with the regulations on geographical name that was issued by the State Council. A State Council is similar to the cabinet in India. This is shown in a map that shows the parts of Arunachal Pradesh instead as inside the southern Tibetan region. China claims that the Arunachal Pradesh is part of the southern Tibet, and since Tibet, that is the Tibet, also called as Tibet Autonomous Region, it is a part of China. That is why the Arunachal Pradesh should also be part of China itself. China refers Arunachal Pradesh by its own name of Jiangnan, and the Chinese Ministry of Civil Affairs have even included a town which is situated very close to the capital of Arunachal Pradesh, Itanagar, under this 11 rename. So the question comes that is it the first time China has undertaken this particular kind of a step or activity? The answer is no. China was in the recent time has done this 2 times before also. For the first time, it happened in the month of April 2017. Where China renamed 6 places in the Arunachal Pradesh, and this was happening in the same year when China and India has confrontation in the Doklam region, which is called as Doklam confrontation. It is believed that this action of China was basically a reaction against the visit of the His Holiness the Dalai Lama in the Tawang monastery of the Arunachal Pradesh. Then almost 4.5 years later, in the month of October 2021, 8 residential areas, 4 mountain regions, 2 rivers and a mountain pass was also renamed, which is situated within the boundary of Arunachal Pradesh. And the most recent, which we are discussing about right now, in the month of April 2023, the China has renamed 11 places where 2 land areas are included, 2 residential areas are included, 5 mountain peaks are included, and 2 different rivers are included. That is making up the total tally of 11. So the question that can come into our mind is, what is the rationale behind such steps that is taken by China when China and India are trying to amicably settle that border dispute that has been existing since the time of independence? So first of all, the rationale behind is very clear. China is acting in this manner because they believe that some 90,000 square kilometer of the areas that is part of Arunachal Pradesh is its own territory, as we have discussed just right now. It calls this area as Jiangnan in the Chinese language and makes repeat references to Arunachal Pradesh as Southern Tibet or South Tibet. If you take a look at the maps that is published by the Chinese government, we can clearly see that Arunachal Pradesh is portrayed as part of China and sometimes parenthetically referred as so-called Arunachal Pradesh, because China do not want to validate the claim of Arunachal Pradesh as some region which is actually a integral part of India. So China makes periodic efforts in this regard to underline the unilateral claim to the Indian territory and undermine the unilateral claim to the Indian territory, and giving Chinese name to such places in Arunachal Pradesh is simply nothing but a part of the same effort. If we try to understand this on the map, we can clearly see that as of now, the India-China boundary is marked by McMahon line. What is McMahon line? We are going to discuss in the later part of the video. So currently, if you look at this particular red line that extends all the way from the Bhutan, at the boundary of India and Bhutan in the west, to India-Myanmar border in the east. However, China claims that this line is not a valid line, and rather than this entire Arunachal Pradesh, this black line, this should be the original border, and this entire red area that actually is Arunachal Pradesh should be part of China. So Chinese claim this should be the actual border, while the current border is the McMahon line that is represented by this particular red line. So how India has reacted against this particular statement or this particular decision of the China? So as we have discussed that 3 times if you include this particular instances, 3 times China has tried to rename the territories of Arunachal Pradesh. So when the first list was published, India did not mince any words and simply condemned the Chinese act. And at that time, the spokesperson of Ministry of External Affairs of India has said that renaming or inventing names of the states of your neighbor do not make illegal occupation as legal. Then, if we talk about the second list, during that time, India strongly reacted to the release of the second list, and at that time, India said that Arunachal Pradesh was, is, and will always be an integral part of India, and the standardized names were a Chinese invention. So what is the China's argument about the Arunachal Pradesh? So as we have discussed right now, that the current border is governed by the McMahon Line that was signed during the British rule of India. So China says that the legal status of McMahon Line cannot be accepted because the boundary that McMahon Line determines between Tibet and British India, which was basically agreed upon in the Simla Convention, which is also called as Convention between Great Britain, China and Tibet of year 1914, China was represented at the Simla Convention by the plenipotentiary of the Republic of China, which had been declared in 1912 after the Qing dynasty was overthrown. However, the Republic of China is not believed by the current Chinese government or the current Chinese administrator as the legal representative or the genuine representative of China, because they already have been overthrown, and the Republic of China, which was led by Chiang Kai-shek, later on they have to flee, and currently they are what you can say, they govern themselves from the Taiwan Peninsula. So China say that Chinese representative did not consent to the Simla Convention, saying Tibet had no independent authority to enter into international agreement. That was basically what China is trying to say, that the convention that was signed between British authorities, Tibet, and the Chinese representatives cannot be accepted with the current Chinese regime, because first of all, the Chinese representative, the legal representative, was invalid, or we can say basically he did not have right to sign the Simla Convention. Second, Tibet, since it is a part of China, Tibet cannot by itself independently sign any such kind of convention. And thus, in this regard, China also bases claims on the historic ties that have existed from time immemorial between the two monasteries, one that is situated in Tawang, which is in part of Arunachal Pradesh, and a second monastery that is in Lhasa, which is the capital of Tibet. And thus, to conclude, if you look at the statement that was given by the Chinese Ministry spokesperson, Foreign Ministry spokesperson, he clearly said that China has a coherent and clear standpoint at the border between China and India. It is proper action to announce those Chinese places' names to the public, as it is according to the regulations established by the State Council or the Chinese cabinet. So in this regard, let us try to understand that what is the legacy of the McMahon Line. Now, if you take a look, McMahon Line, it was named after the British geographer Henry McMahon, who was the chief British negotiator in the Simla Convention. It is basically drawn from the eastern border of Bhutan to the Isu Raji Pass on the China-Myanmar border. And China claims territory to the south of McMahon Line, lying in Arunachal Pradesh, as basically this line to be its own original territory. Now, what does China seek to gain from making these claims? So first of all, we can understand that it is nothing but a part of Chinese strategy to assert its territorial claims over the Indian territory. And as part of the strategy, China routinely issues a statement of outrage whenever an Indian dignitary visits the Arunachal Pradesh, as we have seen in the case of the visit of Dalai Lama in the Tawang Monastery. Beijing also keeps harping on its consistent and clear position that the Indian position of the Arunachal Pradesh, though it is accepted by all countries around the world, including United Nations, and is illegal, and asked New Delhi to stop taking action to complicate the border issues. These names reflect and indicate from one aspect that China's proposal on the sovereignty claim of South Tibet region has a prominent historical, cultural, administrative, and jurisdictional basis. So how India, or what India has done in response of this kind of Chinese aggressiveness? So first of all, in recent years, especially after the 2020 standoff that happened in the eastern Ladakh, India has significantly upgraded firepower along the line of actual control in the Arunachal Pradesh. Not only that, there has been huge impetus on the development and ramping up of infrastructure in the forward areas in all the Arunachal region, especially along the Tawang sector. And if you look at the map here, we can see that right from here, that is Tawang, all the way up to Vijayanagar here at the border of India and Myanmar, there has been development of the Arunachal Frontier Highway. And this highway will cover the entire McMahon Line, and in case of need, the army and the military capabilities of India can be mobilized at a very quick rate if China try to have some sort of intrusion in this particular area. So massive infrastructure upgrade is currently underway in Eastern Arunachal. That is one way how India is reacting in case China try to intrude in this particular area. So what basically we can say as a conclusion, that this particular step of China is nothing new, nothing extraordinary or surprising. Rather than it is just a part of China where it tries to lay aggressive claims to the territories on the basis of alleged historical injustices done to China, and it is nothing but a part of Beijing's foreign policy playbook. In the same order, in the same context, we can also understand the Chinese claim on Taiwan is also one such other examples, as are the consistent efforts to change the facts on the ground in several disputed islands in the South China Sea. So China basically has a territorial dispute with all of its neighbors, including Japan, Vietnam, Philippines, India, Taiwan, and the aggression is all-time backed in overt and covert ways by the use of China's economic and military muscle. So that is all about this particular topic. I hope you understood the gist of why China has renamed the 11 places in Arunachal Pradesh, what is its implications, and what is the reaction of India. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with full aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more content. Thank you very much.